Hi everybody, it's Geordie from Geordie's Cards here for Pawsome Stamps today, and I'm so excited to be bringing you these fun and cute Christmas tags. So today I'm using the Jolly Cupcakes stamp set. I fell in love with this stamp set when I saw it, could not resist it, and I think it's just so fun to colour. So if you enjoy colouring with your Copics, have a go with this one because it is so fun. So for my green, I'm using G05, G02, G00 and G000. And I'm not particularly good with colouring. I've said this a load of times before. I really enjoy colouring. I think that's my favourite part of the crafting because I can kind of sit back and relax. It's kind of like my downtime, a little bit of an escape from the world. So I really love to colour, but my colouring skills are not the best. However, I have kind of found using kind of lots of markers really creates a lovely look. It gives a nice kind of dimensional look, lots of shade, lots of light. So I'm really enjoying using more markers in my colouring. I used to use just like 2 or 3 shades of the same colour. Now I'm trying to use more. So for this icing, I've got 4 shades. And obviously these cupcakes are Christmas themed. Pawsome Stamps have this amazing Halloween themed cupcake set as well, which I'm itching to get my hands on, and hopefully I'll be perhaps ordering in the next month or so. But I have got these lovely Christmas ones, and I was debating what to do with them, and as always I didn't really have a plan, but I went ahead and stamped them out and decided to colour them and see where my creativity took it from there. So I've gone ahead and coloured them. I will go ahead and do a repeat of the same colours so that I'm colouring over the same area twice just to get a smoother blend. I'm not going to show that on camera because this video is very colouring heavy, so I don't want it to go on for too long and lose your interest. Of course, as always, if you're not interested in the colouring, you're more than welcome to skip over it. But it's very colouring heavy today because I just had so much fun colouring these images and I really enjoyed it. So for my kind of gold colour, for my star and my cupcake case, I've gone for Y26, Y23 and Y21. Now I was kind of inspired. Last Christmas I found some kind of foil cupcake cases. They were silver, red and gold. So I was inspired by those for my cupcake cases today. I wanted to create something similar, and I've gone ahead and done my cupcake cases in red, gold and silver. At least that's what I've tried to make them look like. As I say, I'm not the best at colouring, but I really enjoy it. So that's the main thing. For my little baubles on my Christmas tree cupcake, I'm using R27 and R24. These are very, very small, so just a touch of colour to those. And that's my Christmas tree cupcake done. Onto my little snowman. I'm not sure which one is my favourite, but I think he probably is. I think he's just adorable. I'm using BG10 and BG11 to create kind of a snowy kind of look to him. And I'm not colouring him all the way in. I'm leaving a little bit of space, and I will go in with my Colourles Blender and try and smooth out the edges of that colour. So I'm using that for my snowman and also for the little bit of icing that he's sat on because I want it to look like snow. And as I say, I think he's probably my favourite image out of these ones. There is a 6th cupcake in the set, and these are decent sized images, so that you get a lot of bang for your buck with this set, I think. And the 6th cupcake is one that I think could be used for pretty much any occasion. It is a cupcake with some kind of, it's got icing on it, and then it's got kind of like little like the little sugar balls that you can pop on cupcakes. And I think that you could definitely use that for a birthday card as well. I didn't use that one today just because I wanted mine to be very Christmassy. I'm doing this whole Christmas in July thing and trying this year to get ahead with my Christmas crafting. So I've gone for proper Christmas stuff today. For my reds, I'm using R29, R27 and R24. And I'm just doing that on his scarf and on the little band on his top hat. And he's just so cute, just adorable. And these cupcakes, oh my goodness, if I saw these in a shop, I would definitely buy them because they look delicious. For his top hat, I've gone in with N8, N6 and N4. And just using a little bit of that N8 on the edges and then blending out towards lightest in the middle to kind of create the look of a bit of a curve so that it looks a bit dimensional. And once I've done that, I'll move on to his little nose, which I'm going to do in YR18 and YR16. And he's just such a happy little chap, isn't he? How is your Christmas crafting going? Have you been managing to get ahead? Are you leaving it until later on in the year? I know there's loads and loads of Christmas in July stuff going on at the moment. Lots of people have been doing Christmas crafting on Instagram, on YouTube. I've seen absolutely tons of it. I made a vow this year to try and do better because I normally leave it till the last minute. Normally I am scrabbling around in November trying to get stuff done and I never have enough. So this year I wanted to try and get a little bit ahead, and I have been doing a few little bits and pieces towards my Christmas craft stash throughout the course of the year. So this is just another one to add to that so I can kind of be a little bit more prepared. So for my little kind of the actual cupcake part of my cupcake, I've used E35, 33 and 31. And I did go ahead and do some dot detail with that darkest marker just to give it a bit of texture and make it look a little bit like a cake kind of texture that you would find. Now here I go with my silver cupcake case, and I'm using N0, N2 and N4 for that. And just trying to follow the lines that have been drawn to create my shadow and then blending out to my lightest marker. So yeah, my Christmas crafting is it's much better than it was at this point last year. I have a few Christmas cards in my stash. I'm making these tags today, so that will be another little thing that I can add. Because what happens normally with me is I get to December and realize that I just do not have enough made. And my family are asking me for Christmas cards to give to their friends, and I don't have anything. And the really sad part is that I have tons of Christmas stamp sets and Christmas paraphernalia that I could use, but I just never get around to it. So yeah, the plan this year was to try and do a bit better. So for the center hat, I'm using those same red markers that I used on my snowman. I was going to introduce this R22, which you can see in the middle there, but I decided it was too light. And when I went back with my second coat, I just covered over that with the R24. I just felt it was a little bit too light and didn't quite work. So I just decided to blend that out with my R24. And I'm going to do... There's quite a lot of red on this one. I'm going to do the case in red as well. I just wanted it all to kind of coordinate and match, and I figured it would kind of look like his Father Christmas's trousers because he has red trousers. So I've done, for my white parts, I didn't want to leave them completely white, so I've gone in with N0, N2 and N4, just using a very small amount of that N4 to create some shadow, blending out with the other two markers, and then going in with my Colourles Blender finally to finish it off and just smooth out the edges. Now I should say, as I said, there is a lot of colouring in this video, so I have cut parts of it off if I've gone over and done 2 coats on an image. I've not shown it just because it's long enough as it is and you might get a little bit bored watching it. But what I've done is I've just gone ahead and used exactly the same colours in exactly the same places, but just applied 2 coats because I find, particularly on bigger areas, that tends to blend out a little bit better and make it look a little bit more even. So I'm just finishing off the trim of this little hat here, and then I'll move on to his little belt, which I'm going to do in these same dark grey markers. So N8, N6 and N4, which is the same as I use for the snowman's top hat. So although there's a lot of colouring, I've used a lot of the same colours throughout. So I've just kind of doubled them up in certain areas so that I didn't have to pull out loads of markers. What I've started doing before I colour is to select my markers before I start colouring. So I used to kind of select as I went along and decide which colours I was going to use as I went, but now I'm trying to be a little bit more prepared and plan it out so that I figure out which colours I'm going to use and pull them all out and have them ready. And that way I find that everything coordinates a little bit better. My images work together, although these are going to be on separate tags, so they're not going to be sat together. But if I was making a card with these images, all my images would kind of work because they're the same kind of colour scheme, if that makes sense. So I found that works quite well for me. And I just use my, I have my Copic kind of colour mat, which you can download from the Copic website. And I use that, so I fill it in with all the colours that I have, and I use it to select my colours as I go. And I find it works really, really well. I also have Sandy Allnock's Copic hexagon chart, which you can download from her site. And that's quite good because I do find with Copics that some Copic markers, although they're the same colour family, they're not exactly the same. They don't work particularly well, whereas a marker from a different colour family might work even better. I hope that makes sense. But I do find that works quite nicely too, and it gives you a few more combinations. And the other thing I do is watch other people colouring on YouTube so that I can get different combinations that they've used as well. So there we go, my Santa hat is finished. I'm just fixing up a few little marks that I had with my red where it bled through. I do find red bleeds a little bit more than most other colours, so I tend just to touch it up a little bit. I don't think you can notice it too much. So onto my little reindeer cupcake, and again, this is another one that I really, really like. I'm using my E29, E27 and E25 marker for this. So I want it to look like chocolate icing for my little reindeer. I'm going to give him a red nose, of course, because he has to be Rudolph, doesn't he? So again, I'm just trying to follow the lines that the stamp has created to create some dark and shade and figure out where my darkest parts are going to be. And then I will go ahead and blend those out with my lighter 2 markers. And like I say, I just really enjoyed the colouring today. It was, these images are quite large, so there was plenty of colouring to do, and they were fun, they're really fun to colour. There's kind of like large enough areas that you don't have to kind of pick up loads of different markers all the time, but it was yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it was. I just really enjoyed it. They were fun. They're really cute images. I just kind of really got lost in the colouring, which happens sometimes. And it's nice because, like I say, it's kind of like my relaxation time and my time out from everything else that's going on in a busy life. So I enjoy it when I get the chance to sit and colour. So I'm just blending out with my lightest marker, as you can see there, and then off camera I'll go ahead and probably add another coat to this. I'm going to move on to his nose, however, which, as I said, I'm going to do in red. So I'm using those same red markers, R29, R27 and R24 to add to his little nose. And then I'll do his antlers, which I'm going to do in my E30 markers, so E35, 33 and 31. So these are the same colours that I used on the base of the cupcake that the little snowman is sitting on. So as I say, I've just pulled out a load of colours, decided what I was going to colour each cupcake in beforehand, selected those markers out so I had them ready on my desk and could just pull from the pile that I had on my desk. And just, adding, I wanted these antlers to be slightly lighter than the rest of the icing. I probably could have gone a shade or two lighter, but as I say, I wanted to use markers that I had out, so I decided to go with these ones. And for his case, I'm going to do it red as well. So it's going to be pretty much the same as the Santa hat. And just adding the shade, following the lines. So I'm not much of a baker at Christmas. I do make some things. I know some people go all out with baking. I'm not that domestic. I probably should be. I do make certain things. Cupcakes is not one of them. And even if I could make cupcakes, I could definitely not ice them the way these have been iced on here, because these look amazing. And I don't think I'm that skilled. I make a few bits and pieces. I'm trying to think about what I make. Mince pies is obviously a big one, although I don't like eating them. I'm not a big fan of mince pies. If you don't know what mince pies are, I'm not sure if they're big outside of like the UK. They use fruit mince, and it's not like mince meat, it's like fruit mince. So they're like a sweet pie, but I don't like the taste of them. So I do make those at Christmas time. The other thing I make is something called Neenish tarts, which is something that my family, my mum used to make when I was young, and they are delicious. They're kind of like a little tart that's filled with a lemon cream. And then they have a chocolate kind of topping to them, and they are delicious. I really love those, but they're quite labour intensive. So when I make them, I have to have a lot of time on my hands to make them, because they're quite, like, as I say, quite labour intensive, but they are delicious. So here I couldn't decide what colour to do the icing for this one, so I left it and filled in the kind of base of the cupcake first. So just using the same technique as I used previously, I'll go in and add some dot detail with that darkest E35 marker while I'm thinking about what colour to do the icing. And I decided to go in with these kind of gold colours that I've used on the star and the cupcake case for the tree cupcake. So it is Y26, Y23 and Y21. And I just, as I said, I wanted to use the markers that I had out, but I hadn't quite decided what colour to do this icing. And in the end, I decided on this colour combination, and I think it turned out quite nicely. So yeah, my Christmas baking is pretty minor, really. I don't go to town. I don't do a huge amount. Occasionally, my kids and I will work together to make some gingerbread men, which is always fun. But it's quite hot over here. It's a bit different in the UK, where it's a bit colder for Christmas, but over here it's still quite warm. Although it's our winter time here in the UAE, Christmas time, it is still about 26, 27 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit. I'd have to check. But it's still quite warm, so spending a lot of time around a hot oven is not so appealing. So I tend not to do a huge amount of baking and cooking at Christmas time. I suppose it's quite similar to where I grew up in New Zealand, because obviously it's summertime in New Zealand at Christmas. So it's a warm Christmas, which is probably a bit unusual for a lot of people, particularly people who get snow at Christmas time. So I finished off that cupcake with a silver base, and now I'm using my white Sakura Jelly Roll pen to go over and add some highlight details to everything. I kind of went to town with this today and added lots and lots of white gel pen to create lots of highlights and depth and dimension to everything. And I really enjoyed doing this part, although I'm always a little bit nervous, I have to say. I'm always worried that I'm going to muck it up, put it in the wrong place, or it's going to look stupid. 9 times out of 10, it works out absolutely fine, but I'm always a little bit cautious about where I'm going to put things. I'm not an artist. I have absolutely no training or qualifications in art whatsoever. So, you know, things like where light and shadow hit and things like that, it's pretty much guesswork with me. I do what feels right. And as I say, most of the time, I think it ends up looking pretty good. But yeah, there'd be artists out there who'd probably look and go, oh my gosh, I wouldn't do that. But it's all fun. So that's all that matters. And as I say, I really enjoyed this colouring today. It was so much fun. So I'm just finishing off with that. And then I remembered that I was thinking about adding some glitter, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to do it. And I had a couple of options. There was glaze pens, there was glitter pens. I had some kind of glitter glue. In the end, I remembered that I have this kind of glittery Sakura jelly roll pen. I can't remember the name of it because I got it in a pack with some others. And I kind of thought about that and it worked brilliantly. So this is it here. And I like it because it's really precise. You can really figure out exactly where you're going to put your glitter and it will go in that place. Whereas with using glitter glues and things like that, sometimes it can get a bit messy and it can go all over the show. So this is a really nice way of adding it, and it really, like I say, it works a treat because it's so precise and you can get it exactly where you want it without making a huge mess, which is what normally happens with me if I'm using glitter glue and stuff like that. And this just adds a nice little depth of shine. And I will hold it up to the light. So you might be able to see it on the silver cupcake case at the top there. But when I'm finished with it, I'll hold it up to the light and hopefully you can see it a little bit better. It just adds a little touch of something. And for Christmas, you know, you can't have too much glitter at Christmas time, really. It's all about the glitter. Glitter everything at Christmas. So that's what I decided to do. And I'm glad I used this pen because I think it just gives a nice touch without being too over the top and not too messy. So hopefully you can see that there in the light a little bit. So once that was done, I went ahead and cut all of those images out and I cut out some tags. I just used a tags die set that I had and I cut 5 green and 5 red initially. And the idea was that I was going to have the opposite colour on the back. So if it was a red on the front, it was going to be green on the back. In the end, that didn't quite work out because what I did was I took a couple of the sentiments from this Jolly Cupcakes stamp set and white heat embossed them on the tags. But I found that the heat embossing did not work on the green cardstock. I don't know why, whether it's got a different coating, but it did not want to play ball on the green cardstock. So I ended up using red for the backs of all of them, and that worked fine. This is just some cardstock that I got at my local stationery shop. It's nice and thick, so it holds up well. But I'm using 2 tags on each tag, if that makes sense. I'm going to stick one to the back as well. So the ones with the sentiments are going to go on the back, and then a plain one on the front, which I'm going to adhere my image to. So here we go. I'm going to glue them together. I'm using my Barely Art Precision Glue for that. So I'm just going to glue a front to a back for all of them. And I won't show that all on camera because that would be a bit boring, but it's the same process for all of them. And the sentiments I've chosen, which both come from the Jolly Cupcakes stamp set, say, sending you sweet Christmas wishes and may your holidays be extra sweet. So I thought those worked really, really well with these cupcakes. So there we go. These are the fronts. So I've got 2 green fronts and 3 reds. And I decided to put my red cupcake bases on the green cardstock so that they would stand out a little bit more. And now it's just a case of adhering these down with some liquid glue. And it's just, they're so easy to make. The colouring is the main part, but these will be great. I thought these would be perfect if you are a baker, if you are somebody who is good at cooking, unlike me, and you make little Christmas treats that you give as gifts. I know a lot of people do that. These would be the perfect little tags to put on some Christmas baking. So if you gave cookies or muffins or, I don't know, whatever, these would be the perfect little tags to pop on a sweet treat gift like that. So I thought these would work really, really well for that sort of thing. Obviously, be much more skilled than me in the kitchen. But I can provide the tags and you could provide the baking. How's that? But I'm just finishing off, as I say, just gluing everything down with my liquid glue, making sure they're nice and adhered really well. And because these tags are double thickness, they're nice and firm and strong. So now I've got this kind of jute twine, which I actually picked up from a gardening shop many years ago, and it's lasted forever because look how much is on there. And I'm just attaching that through and then tying a little knot in one end so it creates a nice little tag. And there we go, made all 5 of them and finished. But then I decided that I needed something more. So I've taken this Gingerbread lane set, which has got this beautiful snowflake, and I'm just stamping it in Versamark ink on top of the tags just to create a little bit of something else. I felt like it was just lacking something. So you can see it stands out really nicely on the green. You can actually see it a lot better on the red in real life, but it just adds a little bit something more. And I kind of wish I'd done this prior to sticking my cupcakes down so that I could cover the whole tag with them. But don't they look pretty? And those snowflakes are gorgeous. So there we go, 5 Christmas tags in the bag for me, ready for Christmas. And aren't they just adorable? So I really hope you enjoyed this one today. Please do give it a thumbs up if you did. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you would like to see any more of my content, here's a video I think you might enjoy. Thank you so much. Take care.